to the International and Domestic Virtual Colloquium, or KOMAT 2023, organized by the Institute of Teacher Education, International Languages Campus, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I'm Munira, and I am the moderator for today's colloquium series, sitting in for my colleague, Ms. Izzatul, who is unavailable to join in the session today. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached our final series for KOMAT 2023. In this series, we will revisit some of the topics that were discussed by the presenters in the earlier sessions. Series 18 will also touch on issues related to Education 5.0 and how we determine a way forward to help support our education system for the future. But before we continue with today's session, for the final time, allow me to lay out a few housekeeping matters. First, everyone who attends the webinar series and registers the attendance will be given an e-certificate and will be sent to you by email. Your e-certificate can also be downloaded from the KOMAT 2023 Google Sites, which will remain open until Friday, 16th April. When you register your name, make sure that it is spelled and typed correctly and your email address is accurate too. The registration link will be shared about 30 minutes into the webinar. For viewers joining us from the Ministry of Education Malaysia, your attendance will be recorded in SPL KPM manually. Please make sure you provide the correct IC number in the attendance form to avoid your registration from being rejected. Second, your feedback is important to us. Please take some time to answer a short survey shared via the link in the chat box. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are honored to have the Director of the Institute of Teacher Education, International Languages Campus, Kuala Lumpur, as the speaker for the final series of KOMAT 2023. DATIN Dr. BUSHRO Ali, welcome to KOMAT and thank you for being here today with us. We are very excited to have you and to hear what you have to say about optimizing future-proof teacher education. DATIN, throughout the series, for the past 4 weeks, we have heard many different views from the speakers on future-proof education in many different contexts, from language studies to technology and Islamic civilization, all of which took into account the concept of future-proof education being the process of getting ready for the future, which involves training and developing of skills for our learners to be able to function in their later lives, to help minimize the effects of shocks and stresses of future events. So, in your view, DATIN, what does future-proof education means to you?
Thank you, Dr. Munira. Auzubillahi samin alim minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning to everybody. Before I respond to your question, I would like to take this opportunity to thank everyone here for your dedication and support in making KOMAT 2023 a reality. This is the 4th year we conducted KOMAT, and I am very thankful we have managed to attract thousands of viewers from in and outside Malaysia. And I feel this is an accomplishment beyond our expectation. KOMAT is our contribution towards developing our education, bringing it to another level, and I am glad that it has reached and hopefully has inspired our viewers, especially our teachers, to excel in their profession. And as you all know, KOMAT started off in 2020 during COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, we were not sure what was happening, and we are not sure how long the crisis would last. Despite being uncertain about the future, I was sure that learning and teaching must go on. The process of disseminating and acquiring knowledge can never stop. Then I ask myself, what would be the best way to ensure that we never stop thinking about education and how to educate people? I said to myself, we have technology, so this will be the tool to support and enhance the teaching and learning process when being in a physical classroom could put human life at risk. And last year, I came across a report from the World Economic Forum 2022. The World Economic Forum is an annual meeting among governments, businesses, and civil society leaders with the knowledge, expertise, and clout who would discuss and find solutions to the biggest issues facing our world today to make positive changes happen. And the World Economic Forum 2022 in Davos, Switzerland, had listed 4 factors to future-proof education, which are leveraging technology, optimizing interaction, creating customizable content, and maximizing engagement. In the discussion, Andreas Schleicher, Director of Education and Skill Directory, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, recommended that future-proof education needs to be flexible and inclusive without compromising its philosophy. Education must use technology. Physical boundaries will not limit teaching and learning. Grades are no longer pertinent, and there is a need to empower education. All these are part of the future education agenda. In Malaysia, we have begun our journey to future-proof education since the development of the Malaysia Education Blueprint 2013-2025. In terms of making our education flexible and inclusive with the integration of technology and the internet, we are now practicing online learning, e-learning, blended learning. Blended learning and distributed learning, to name a few. The different modes of learning with technology that promotes flexibility. And this means that now teachers and students should have their lessons conducted either fully online or in hybrid mode, depending on current situations and needs. Most schools are now investing in learning management system and developing massive open learning courses with micro-credential, which surely give the learners a wide option and access to education in a form that is most convenient to them. And in terms of learning outcomes, since COVID-19, approach to assessment is more flexible. Teachers are encouraged to use alternative modalities in measuring student performances, such as online quizzes, open book exams, take-home tests, and portfolio evaluations. And these modes of assessment require students to perform deep learning and research, analyze issues, defend their ideas, and support them with evidence. And it is believed that this current approach to assessment and evaluation trains students to be more diligent and prepare them to meet job expectations in an uncertain future. In addition, the Ministry of Education Malaysia decision to abolish primary school achievement test UPSR and Form 3 assessment PT3 is timely and relevant, as it is an initiative taken to produce human capital with wide range of skills and qualities, which will not be limited to academic fields. And this recent concept in assessment is an important feature for people of the nation to grasp and accept in order to keep pace in rapidly changing world. And today, teachers and learners are more empowered. Teachers have more autonomy in how they plan and design their lessons. This is made possible because they have access to tools to make their teaching materials according to their students' need. Again, with integration of technology, teachers could share and publish their work via online platforms, social media such as YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. Short engaging lessons in the form of video can be created and distributed instantly. They can reach a large number of learners, and this is a clear example of how teaching have changed and approaching it in a creative and innovative manner. For learners, opportunities are created for them to explore their interests, inspiring possibilities, encourage critical consumption and creation. There are many options for engaging in flexible learning experiences. For example, through project-based learning, learners can take advantage of learning in non-traditional methods by carrying out research, conducting site visits, and experiments. Here, I would like to mention about School Transformation 2025, TS25, a nationwide program which is one of the efforts toward improving the quality of students and schools based on best practices in management and leadership, as well as pedagogy in teaching and learning. In this program, learners are given the platform to explore, to create and engage in fun and meaningful learning experiences. In addition, the World Economic Forum 2022 also mentioned that one of the factors for future-proof education is optimizing interaction. To me, this relates to having effective communication, making connections, and developing networking with other people. As mentioned by the Deputy Director of the Institute of Teacher Education, Kota Baru Campus, collaboration and networking are important elements in maintaining professional relationships among educators and institutions. A productive education system is a system that grows and flourishes based on support from partnerships and collaborations. Because learning is a two-way process and knowledge is meant to be delivered and shared. The Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, in its Future of Education and Skills Education 2030 position paper, stated that future-ready students need to exercise agency in their own education and throughout their life. Agency implies a sense of responsibility to participate in the world and in so doing to influence people, events, and circumstances for the better. Agency requires the ability to frame a guiding purpose and identify actions to achieve goals. Based on this, clearly teachers have an important role to play to enable agency in learners, and teachers need not only organize learners individually, but also acknowledge the wider set of relationships with teachers, with peers, families, and communities that influence their learning. Teachers should help in providing supportive relationships that help learners to progress towards their valued goals. And according to OECD, there are two factors that can help learners to enable agency. The first is a personalized learning environment that supports and motivates each student to nurture his or her passions, making connections between different learning experiences and opportunities, and design their own learning projects and processes in collaboration with others. The second focuses on building a solid foundation in literacy and numeracy, where it remains very crucial, particularly in the era of digital transformation, the advent of big data, digital literacy, and data literacy. Other areas such as physical health and mental well-being, these are becoming increasingly essential when modern life requires a lot of perseverance and hard work in order to live comfortably. And as I could remember, two of our speakers from series 14 and 15 spoke about the importance of being physically and mentally healthy and fit so that we could function better in our jobs. I strongly believe that this is also an important element as it contributes to quality of life and productivity. In addition to the above, let's not forget our spiritual self. Although we are living in a world of machines, robots, and Internet of Things, we cannot totally eliminate humanistic values and to have a certain degree of moral. Previously, in Education 4.0, the role of technology in education was to promote speed, accuracy, and knowledge in instruction. The goal was to bring education closer to technological advances which was already in use by society and companies at that time. And this has created more direct communications amongst new generations and youth who rely technology in almost everything they do in life. However, the way we perceive technology in education shifted after the pandemic. At this point, we have entered the era of Education 4.0, where it is clear that we need to prepare human beings for adversity, for emotionally intelligent people who know how to turn digital transformation into a tool for social transformation. New technologies are used to provide more humanized teaching with a focus on students' social and emotional development and solutions that improve life in society. All social aspects such as work, industry, and health has come to an understanding that technology can and should be favorable to life. After saying all that, I realized that it is not easy to define future-proof education, but I would say future-proof education is a system created to develop future generations that have attributes with the right balance of knowledge, skills, capabilities, attitudes, and values, which enable them to face the future with confidence.
Well, yes, DATIN. I think there's a lot of things to take in. And in fact, I feel that it is a very big leap for education in terms of how it has changed, coming from Education 4.0 and then into Education 5.0. And I think what's special about Education 5.0 is that the focus on humanistic values, the spiritual self. And I think earlier this week in series 15, where Dr. Malati also mentioned about the concept of Madani. And in that concept, there's also where we have to look into within ourselves, because now everything, we're so dependent on technology. Am I right? That even now we're using technology in our presentation at the moment. So, but of course, to balance things out, the humanistic values has to be inserted in education. And of course, because of this, technology impacts the way that we teach and learn and communicate with each other. Education is now becoming more flexible and personalized. Lessons are more about making connections and discoveries. Now, Datin, we go to the next question. Okay? So, in your view, how well are our institutions of higher learning, including teacher training institutes, are coping and adapting to the changes and challenges in the world today?
Okay. Very tough question.
Yes, it is.
I think Dr. Munira, the universities and teacher training institute are racing to be ranked as one of the most effective and successful education institution in Malaysia. And to some extent, this is exciting, but to others, maybe it is very stressful because there is a certain expectation the institution must meet in order to claim that they are capable in providing excellent quality education. And we have seen that COVID-19 pandemic has forced the education industry to reflect on its status quo and strategies to implement education. Many schools, colleges, institutions, and universities had to adopt new ways of training and teaching. And what we need to do is to nurture future-proof talents or young generations with skills in critical thinking, abilities to communicate and engage, having a clear understanding of the impacts of changes, have a global environments, the impact of changes have on global environments, able to meet goals and set standards, and having the ability to solve problems. So, whose responsibility is it to prepare higher education institutions for these challenges? I think we as the leaders and we as the educators, it is our job to inspire intellectual courage and lead the change. And we could build a nation with future-proof education by adopting good work principle. For example, the power to success, the power to success work principles, as mentioned by the director of Kuala Lumpur Education Department in Series 10, which highlights 5 vital principles. There is persistence, optimism, wisdom, enthusiasm, and resilience. And we need to take action now if we do not want to be left behind and compete with others. Educators and education institutions must realize that they no longer can continue to operate solely as transmitters of knowledge. They need to provide personalized learning experiences for all our students. Teachers tailor-made their methods in teaching to suit the needs of each individual child. And this will enable them to not only excel academically, but also guide them to develop their cognitive abilities so to make them fit for the future. And this means that our education must in some ways cultivate both the hard and soft skills sets from being analytical to culturally competent with empathy and the ability to communicate confidently.
Well, yes, I agree with you. I actually gave you quite difficult questions to answer. But these are very important questions. When we're talking about the future, these are the questions that we need to ask. And particularly when we want to develop our education system and also to build our nation. And I think that we are already in the future,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So what's next? So therefore, I do believe that the future is already here. And because the future is already here, do you think that our student teachers are future ready and able to face the challenges and uncertainties of the future? Another tough question for you, Datin.
Munirah, you are correct. The future is already here. And as you all know, technology upgrades very rapidly and massive volumes. And we are heading into a world of intelligent automation. And the advancements of technology in our world will not only benefit us in many ways, but it will also cause many unusual challenges, particularly on how people gain employment. And this is because the jobs of tomorrow will be very different to the ones that we have today. Young people need to prepare themselves for this change quite early in their life in order to ingrain these competencies they needed for jobs of the future. And I remember several years ago, there were rumors that people or workers would be replaced by robots or machines, and teachers would no longer be relevant since learning can happen without a human teacher. But of course, in reality, it is not as simple as that. Human workers and teachers are not going to be obsolete and will remain relevant in the future. But there are more intelligent technologies being created, and people are very dependent on these smart machines and gadgets. Artificial intelligence, AI programs like ChatGPT is conquering the world by replicating answers to questions, making very students' job in producing an academic essay super easy. And technology also has put us in a more globalized, interconnected and borderless world. This has brought about an increase in migration where people are able to travel quite freely for work and education. As a result, there is a growth of larger international communities of people from different social, cultural and racial backgrounds. And these scenarios means that our students must be prepared to collaborate and compete with peers globally. They must develop flexibility, as we have discussed earlier, resilience and tolerance to grow in multicultural, multilingual setting. And they must see themselves as global citizens even from an early age. And I think there is still a lot of work that needs to be done to prepare our students to adapt and face the uncertainties and ambiguities of the future. But with the clear goals, supports and encouragement from all parties, the ministry, the school, communities, peers, educators, then it is possible for them to become future-proof and real-world ready as they enter the workforce.
Well said, Datin. Yes, we're talking about the future. It is something uncertain, but at the same time, time moves. Okay, we are headed forward. So, despite all these very difficult questions, we still have to find answers to the question. Okay, so but I feel now it's quite a big issue. Okay, a big issue of us thinking what is it that we're going to do next in terms of how to develop our education. Okay, it is really hard to predict, and technology is making our lives more difficult, I suppose, rather than easier. we have to find the balance, I guess. So we're almost the end of the program. I think that's a relief after listening to all sorts of very complex ideas here. But before we go, would you like to summarize or give a few words on the way forward for future-proof education? Datin?
Okay, thank you again, Dr. Munira. I think Education 5.0 has a clear vision and essence for future-proof education. If we examine closely, Education 5.0 is asking us to look far beyond technology and bring humans back to the center of education process. Education should start with humans, not technology. And we need to realign the purpose of education explicitly to the specific outcomes that need to be achieved by humans as a result of particular learning experience. And it is not only about providing every learner with a laptop or a tablet, or improving infrastructure and connectivity, or developing digital tools and platforms. Technology is just a tool to help support the teaching and learning process. As future-proof education, As future-proof educators, we need to start training our students to be intellectually, socially, and emotionally strong individuals, mindful of their health and personal development. Then we need to be creative and innovative using appropriate strategies, methodologies, and pedagogical approaches in our teaching. And this will help to bring back the motivation and the joy of learning to the learners. We should also help students to prepare for lifelong learning, making sure they develop the ability and readiness to engage in continuous learning throughout their professional life. In short, future-proof education requires a holistic educational transformation, and this implies addressing all the relevant elements in education, including technology. That's all?
Yeah, well, I guess so. Thank you, Datin, for your views on future-proof education and ways it could be optimized to meet the demands of the world in light of Education 5.0. Yes, there's a lot that you have said. Okay, maybe I can just recap a little bit here, talking about the changes that is happening in our education system, not only in Malaysia but also in other places, all because of technology. And when we are using technology, in fact, our whole life is about technology, then as human beings, we have to find the balance between machines and also our inner self, our humanistic values. So I think that's one very important takeaway point for us as educators. And another point would be thinking about the future that is uncertain and with a lot of challenges. So what are we as teachers, as educators, what is it that we need to do in order to prepare our learners to face these challenges? I mean, let's take, for example, a mobile phone, right? It's just so quick. Within a year, there's always a new model coming out with new improved technologies. So I guess our lives is going to be like that for many, many years to come. So it is very unexpected. So what about our education? How are we going to educate our students and learners so that they are aware of these changes, the uncertain possibilities? So I think that is another big question that we should all think about in terms of trying to optimize our learners, to future-proof them.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we end the session, I would like to remind all viewers to register your attendance now via the link given, and the registration will remain open until 1 hour after the closing ceremony, which will take place at 11:30 a.m. Malaysia time. Please make sure that your name and email address are correct to avoid your e-certificate of participation not being issued. Also, your certificate from previous series, if you have not received them, the e-certificates can be downloaded from the KUALA 2023 Google Sites, and this site will remain open until Friday, 16th April 2023. Also, for questions that were asked during the webinars but were not answered, you can find the responses in the Q&A section in the KUALA 2023 Google Sites. And finally, don't forget to take a short survey and give us your feedback on KUALA 2023 through the link shared in the chat box. Once again, we would like to thank our speaker, the Director of the Institute of Teacher Education, International Languages Campus, Kuala Lumpur, DATIN Dr. BUSHRO Ali, for your input and ideas on optimizing future-proof education. I hope that our discussion and sharing session today will trigger some sort of thinking, trigger those brain cells within our teachers and also learners to think about the future and prepare ourselves to face the future. And not to forget our technical team here at the Institute of Teacher Education International Languages Campus, the team from the Educational Technology and Resources Division, BSTP, Ministry of Education Malaysia, the Secretariat for KUALA 2023, lecturers, teachers, and students. Thank you for watching and hope to see you again next year for KUALA 2024. Please stay tuned for the closing ceremony, which will go on air at 11:30 a.m. Malaysia time. Till then, thank you for your support, and we hope to see you again next year. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.